Buddy, how you doing tonight? Just give me 1 second and just going to do a couple things here and then we're going to get started. I see I got a bunch of people here already. And we have MG63, you're first in the house today. All right, welcome everybody. All right. Jim's always late. Actually, I'm going to tell you why I'm late tonight. You're probably not going to want to hear it, but it's, as you know, it's kind of, let me see something. Sorry, give me 1 second. A couple of things we're going to do here first. We are going to do things a little different tonight. Instead of printing all the questions out on a piece of paper, I have them on my other computer over here. And we're going to do a couple of car questions because we have a few car-related questions to do. And then I think that whole series is going to be finished. I don't think I have any more there. A couple of them, but not many more. All right, the reason why I was late again tonight. As you know, it's not the most pleasant day today, off and on rain all day long. Well, myself and Mrs. Jimthecarguy decided to take the dogs for a walk earlier before it got too late and before we could, before the show. And we no sooner got out the door and a couple of houses down and it started raining. So we had to turn back and come back because my dogs and myself included don't like walking in the rain. But that was why, because the dogs didn't go, and then all of a sudden we had a chance where it was clear weather, and I got to take the one dog out for a walk. The other one is sleeping, and so far they didn't want to do anything. Lon, thank you very much. Good to see you. I hope everything is going well. Thank you. Oh, yeah, Lon, I will be actually telling everybody about that shortly. I am starting a second channel on home maintenance and home repairs, but once I have a few more things up on there, I will bring it to everybody's attention, and you can check it out and see what you think. It's basically just going to be doing home projects around the house, anything you might wind up doing around the house. Nothing real big and crazy, but just the normal everyday maintenance that any homeowner would have to do. Did anybody check out the? I'm sorry, I'm scrolling between two different things here. Did anybody check out the? I can't even see it here myself. Give me 1 second. We're gonna go back to that now. Did anybody check out the? Give me 1 second. I want to just get back over there. The post I did a little earlier today. It was actually where the heck? No, I didn't say heck, did I? I said where in the world is Jimthecarguy? I'm actually just bringing the channel up right now. Give me 1 second. Okay, I put a post up there, and it's where in the world is Jimthecarguy? So check it out and let me know what you think. Where I was, I'll give you some time to take a look at it and see what you think. And anybody who's from the New York metropolitan area, I'm sure they're going to know pretty quickly where it is, but we'll see what everybody else says. Let's see. Give me 1 minute. I'm just going to go back to it now. Okay, it's where in the world is Jimthecarguy now? So let me know what you think. Let's see. Gonna go back a little bit. Let's see who we got in the house. Oh, we got a lot of people here already. All right. Let me just take a look real quick, see what anybody thought. My buddy MG63, I think he was ready to bash me for being late a couple of minutes, and then he said, oh, wait, he has arrived. Chris from Texas. I hope everything is well and down in Texas. I'm sure it's pretty hot down there. I complain when it's up here when it's 80, 85 degrees and 70% humidity. I'm sure down there it's just a little bit warmer. Humid day today. It's the truth. There's no lie. Actually, I'm actually warm here myself. Should have turned my AC down a little bit lower. All right, let's see. All right, a couple of people knew pretty quickly where it was. Jim Johnson says, my wife, Melba, thinks it was the skylight at your shop. Uh, you guys are nuts. Yeah, but it was actually in New York. And when you see it anybody who's been there and you go there and you look at it, you walk in and you just look and you look up and you think, well, it's nice on the pictures I'm talking about. You look up and you see the pictures there or you see the video there and you think, wow, that's pretty nice. It's nice view through the top there and the subway is nice and clean and everything. But the thing that impresses me the most is that you're in that hub over there and you're standing there and you're looking up and you're not talking about 50 feet, 75 feet or 100 feet. You're talking hundreds of feet in elevation just to get that whole structure put up inside there was a feat in itself. And everything. When you walk down through there, you look at the one picture, and it looks like the when you looked up at the ceiling and it came down a little bit, you can see where it looks like all of the ribs. It looks like ribs inside there, the ribs of some big animal or some whale or something like that. But those ribs are actually part of the ceiling that supports everything. It's just when you see something like that and you see that these engineers and not just the engineers, but the people who manage that project and the people who work there putting that whole thing together, it's just an unbelievable to think that, it got it done so quickly. I'm looking outside now and boy, it's raining like mad out there. Actually, can you guys see that? Let's close that so you can see a little bit better maybe. Maybe that's a little bit better for you. I forgot the light in the back is going to interfere with the camera right there. I'm just looking at it. It was a little bit blurry here, so I figured maybe that was it. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. But yeah, that's where I was over in New York there, which is really very impressive when you're actually standing there and looking up yourself, and especially when you look up and you're looking through that glass, and as you're looking up there, you can see the trade center right through the glass. So if you stand in the right place and you look up, you can see the buildings themselves right there. It's very impressive. All right, let's see what we got going. A couple of things we're going to do today. Like I said, we're going to do something a little bit different. I got a couple of emails from a couple of different people, and three in particular, and they wanted to, Karina, thank you very much. They wanted to know, one, how to get started in the shop, and then I think what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about not just how to get started in the shop, because a lot of guys know, you go and you buy a building, rent a building, whatever, and you walk in and you get your shop started. But they don't realize all of the things that are behind there that you need to know before you can actually open up a shop. I will tell you this, that when I first got started, it was very difficult getting started because back then, there wasn't a lot. This was back in. Sorry, I'm just reading there. Oh, MG63. I'm happy that it fits you okay, and that you got it in a timely fashion too. So sorry it took me a couple of days to get it out. It's just been a little bit hectic. So I'm glad that it fits you okay and you got it. When I started, it was a little bit different than it is today. To run a small business today, it's not just a matter of going and renting a shop and opening up the doors and having all the customers come running to you to get their cars repaired. There's a lot of things that you need to do today in order to, and you needed to do it back years ago too, but it wasn't as bad as it is today or as expensive as it is today. Today, to open up a shop, you look at it, to open up an average non-specialty type shop, you're looking at probably easily $100,000, if not $200,000, just to get the doors opened and get everything running. And I'm not talking about buying all the equipment that you need to get the whole thing up and running at 100%. But back when I started, it was a gas station I bought, so it was already an existing business already, and pretty much got everything all set, got the insurances all done. Back then, it was an Exxon gas station. Before you could take over an Exxon station, you had to go to school, and Exxon taught you not how to fix cars, but they taught you how to manage a business and how to keep inventory and all that kind of stuff. So you had to go to classes to figure out, so they could teach you how to get the how to manage a station, keep your inventory, and all of the things that you may not even think about, like product, making sure that you didn't have loss of product or theft of product, or making sure you knew how much you pumped every day, and you could calculate out how long it would be before you would run out of product, and then you would have to place the orders, and then after you placed the order, you had to make sure you had the capacity to actually store the product in there. So it was a lot that they taught you how to do. The bookkeeping part of it, they showed you a little bit. It was a little bit different than it is today, what I do, because back then it was gasoline. And gasoline, you had to keep very, very accurate records. The problem with when you're storing gasoline, which is a hazardous product, you have to keep every day. You have to stick the tanks. You have to mark how much is moisture inside the tank or water, because every fuel tank has got water in it. You had to mark how much is water and how much was product, and every day you had to keep track of it. And I will tell you this: when I first opened up my gas station, I opened it up. I took the place over from an older guy who was no longer able to run the place anymore, and I took the place over, and they sent me to school. I did all my arithmetic and everything, and did everything I was supposed to do. And the first week I was there, I started keeping track of everything that was going on with the inventory and what I sold according to the computers and the pumps and everything. And I kept on coming up short product. So I had my salesperson come down, and he says to me, I'm making a mistake. It's my error. That is impossible. It can't be losing that much product. And it was a lot of product a day missing. And so this goes on for probably about the first 30 days. And they said to me, no, that I was making a mistake on it, that it was impossible. It couldn't be losing that much product. I have to be doing something wrong. So we ran it for the second month, or the third month, or something like that. Maybe it was the third month. And I was still short product. So they had their salespeople come down, and then my salesman, he actually kept track of it for a month. So it was like 3 or 4 months before they finally decided that, yes, something's going on and the product is missing. And as it turned out, from day one, when I took the gas station over, there was actually a leak in the storage tank. So so that's why they taught you how to keep accurate records. As far as everything else that you needed to do, they didn't teach you how to do your regular accounting, or how to do your any of your ordering or your assurances or any of the other stuff that you need to do. So basically, you had to set it up with an accountant, a lawyer, and get the place running yourself. Today, though, it's a lot different. Today, you have a lot of different permits, a lot of different fees, a lot of different licenses, and everything you need to have. You have to have. Well, I'll just give you an example of my shop. If you were to come and open up just my shop, it's just a very small shop. I get 4 cars inside the building. To open up a shop like mine, 4 cars inside the building, the first thing you're going to need is you're going to need insurance. After you have the insurance, you're going to need all of your licensing. You're going to need your permits from the cities. You're going to need your permit from the feds for having hazardous material inside the building. You're going to need to have, of course, your insurances. I jotted down a couple other things here. Insurance, licensing, things that people see. A lot of people think that you just open up a shop, you walk in, you're going to charge, I'm going to make a fortune, I'm going to charge $75 to $100 an hour, which is actually very low. But we'll just say, for argument's sake, we'll say $100 an hour. Now, to the average person who doesn't own a shop, they hear $100 an hour, and they think, wow, this guy's going to be rich, $100 an hour. The reality of it is that, I'm going to give you an example. So another friend, we're going to come back to this, but a friend of mine opened up a shop, and we were getting ready. I was helping him out, get the place running, getting it up and running. And I said to him, whatever you gross, 75% of whatever you gross is going to go right out the door to sustain the business, to keep it running, between rent, insurance, heat, water, licensing, hazmat, all that kind of stuff. I said, even 75%, you got to figure it's going to go right out the door. And I said, after that 75% goes out the door just to pay the bills, you still got to pay your help. You still got to pay your mechanic or your helper. And then on top of that, you also need to make a profit yourself. So the $100 an hour is really not a lot of money. You're talking about insurance on the building. You want to have insurance on the building. You're looking at, it's not like a car where you're spending $1,000 and you have insurance. To insure a repair shop that's up and running and doing a fairly decent amount of money, you're probably looking at anywhere from maybe $8,000 to $10,000 a year just for the liability part of it. To drive customers' cars and to be covered and everything. And then you also have the workman's comp that needs to go along with that too. So you have workman's comp you got to pay as well. So there's quite a bit to think about. Not to mention you're going to have your lawyer, you're going to have your accountant, and all that kind of stuff. So it's very expensive to open up a shop. Is the point I'm making. But my buddy though, a couple of months goes by and everything, and he called me up. We're talking on the phone one day, and he says to me, "Hey, remember the other day when you said it was 75% of what you make, what you gross is going to go to pay for everything to keep the place running? You said 75%, which meant that you have, of course, 25% profit." He said, "You were wrong." I said, "No, I wasn't wrong." I said, I'm sure that it's going to cost you at least 75%. He said, "Yeah." He said, "It's more like about 95%." Because when you're first getting started, of course, you don't have a heck of a lot of business. So to open up a shop, it's very expensive. And a lot of guys, what they do is they'll open up a shop, and and this happened to another one of my friends too. They'll go and they'll open up a shop, and they'll go and they're like this particular guy. He had a gas station with a repair shop, and one day he comes into my shop and he's carrying his briefcase, and he opens up the briefcase and it's full of money. I said, what are you carrying this money around for? And he says, I'm making so much money down at the shop and this, that, the other thing. And I said, you have to prepare for it. I said, because you're going to have your product is going to need to be purchased. You're going to have your credit cards that need to be done as well. I said, you need to have that money, in the bank so you can have that rotation, so you can actually have cash flow to pay all the bills. Well, less than 6 months, he was bankrupt and out of business. So, his thought of making all that money was put right out the window because, you just don't realize that you'll have your busy times and your slow times. Like a lot of guys, what they do is they'll open up a shop. And believe me, I'm doing this 42 years. I've seen this happen many, many times. Guys will go and open up a shop. And of course, what I used to call is the new broom. If a shop opens up, everybody in town is going to flock to that person to check it out, to see what that person's all about. Are they going to stay with them, forever? Probably not. So you'll have your big influx of people coming in to check out the new shop, meet the new owner, and then they're pretty much going to wind up going back to wherever they came from. So in the beginning, your business is going to take off and go really crazy, where you're going to do so much business you don't know what to do with it. And then all of a sudden it's going to taper down and then, become steady at a certain point where it's going to, be, not as busy as it was. And a lot of guys, what they do is they'll come in and they have their basic hand tools. And now it's going to be, well, I need a computer, I need a tire machine, I need a balancer, I need a scope, I need an air conditioning machine, I need a smoke machine. So all of these things, they're going to say, well, Snap-on or the tool dealer is going to say to you, well, for X amount of dollars a week, you can have that machine. And a lot of guys will say, well, I need it right now. I have to have it. I can't wait. And then you're looking at $50 for this machine, $75 for that machine, $100 for that machine. And by the time you're all done, you're looking at $1,000 or more a month just to pay off the equipment. And that's great on days when you're very busy and you're doing a good amount of work. But everybody knows in this business, you'll have your peaks and you'll have your busy days where you have work all over the place and you can't handle it. And then other days you're going to wind up where it's slow and you're twiddling your thumbs, just getting by on simple basic oil changes. Now, I've had this discussion with a lot of guys. When I first started years ago, I was very naive. I didn't really know anything. All I knew back then is that you got a gas station or a repair shop or whatever you had, and whatever job came in the door, you used to, whatever it was, you did it. If it needed a timing chain, well, back then it was timing chain, if it needed a ball joints, if it needed a transmission, a differential, whatever it needed, you got the job done. But I learned over the years myself is that I I would take in these really big jobs, and only having, well, now it's 4 cars inside the building, but years ago my gas station was only 2 bays, so you get a car in there and you'd be doing an engine on it, and you tie that 1 bay up for a week, maybe more, doing the engine. That's if everything went well. What I decided to do, and you can probably tell by most of my videos, you'll never see in my videos where I'm doing all of these big, heavy rear ends, transmissions, differentials, engines, any of that stuff. Yeah, there's no real money in that. You're better off doing the regular maintenance, the basic maintenance, tires, batteries, oil changes, shocks, struts, all the stuff, the quick in and out type stuff, which is, as you can see by most of my videos here, that's pretty much the majority of all my work. We do a lot of diagnostics as well, so you'll need your basic machines to do that. But don't go crazy and spend a ton of money. I'm sorry. Don't go and spend a ton of money, because you're going to spend a couple of $100 here, a couple of $100 there, and at the end of the month, that money's got to be paid. And the tool dealer doesn't care if you're busy or slow. He wants his money for his thing because you signed an agreement and you said you're going to pay X amount of dollars a month. And a lot of guys wind up going under because of that, because of your, when you're busy or when you're slow. The next thing, anybody who's going to be getting into, whether you're going to open up a shop or I've had this actual email from one of my customers. He says to me, if I had it to do over again, would I work for a dealer or would I just open up my own shop again? My personal preference would be, of course, working for myself and doing it, because that's all I've done my whole life. So for me to do anything different would be a little bit different. But that's what I would do is, I would work for a dealer. I would work for myself, but working for a dealership does have a lot of benefits for it. When you work for yourself, you need to have ongoing training all the time. So you're constantly going to these seminars and any kind of anything else that you need to learn about, whether it's the new emission system, the new air conditioning system, whatever it is. You need to actually have an ongoing training type thing, which is tough, because if you're running a shop, you can't close your shop to go to a training thing, and unless you have somebody there who's fairly decent and can actually can run it for you. So there is a benefit to being at a dealership, because if you're at a dealership or one of these bigger locations, they will send you for training. They pay for the training, you go to the training, and then you'll get all the information. So there's lots of different things to think about with that. Okay, I think we're gonna end all the discussions about the businesses and stuff like that. But I'm gonna go back over here and let's see what anybody has to say. We're gonna go back a little bit. Let me start in the beginning. Maybe I won't start in the beginning. There's too much going on there. We're going to start here with Phil says to me, do you do any electrical diagnostics? Yes. I do a lot of, Oh, Joe, thank you. I see you answered that already for me. In case anybody doesn't know, Joe is my son. Yes, we do. We do a lot of electrical diagnostics. If it's really major electrical problems, like I've had people already that come into me, and they'll come in and they'll tell me that they have whatever problem. I'll open up the hood and I'll look under it, and it looks like wires are all over the place and ripped apart and cut and spliced together with butt connectors. And I've even seen them already where I saw a car that had an electrical problem with the windows. I opened up the door to take a look at the electrical problem with the power windows. They actually had household wiring that you would find on a lamp connecting up all of the wires in the door through the dashboard over to the master switch. Needless to say, stuff like that. I won't even get involved with that kind of stuff. So small electrical problems we take care of. Anything that's really big or in depth, we have to pull a tie a dashboard out to do it. That kind of stuff. We don't do that. It just, my shop is so busy with the regular tires, batteries, brakes, alternators, drive belts, hoses. We keep so busy with that. I can't afford to tie up on that type of a job, because otherwise I get all jammed up. Because anybody who knows electrical problems, you could get underneath the hood and you can find that electrical problem in 30 seconds, or you could find it in 20 hours. You never know exactly what you're going to run into. So to answer your question, small electrical problems we take care of. Major stuff we do not. Bob T says ground zero. That's true. You're right. It was ground zero. I think they call it the WTC hub, but it's just very impressive being there when you look around at everything. And you saw the pictures of the subway. It was actually immaculate underneath there, which was kind of hard to believe that in New York City it's so clean underneath there. Let's see how many people looked at it so far. All right, so 250 looked at it so far, so I'm sure everybody has a pretty good idea. All right, Wyatt, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. I'll see you pretty soon, Wyatt, right? And then what's today, 2022? So another week or so, right? Week and a half. Lon, I see you know Wyatt. Wyatt's a pretty good guy. Joe says Los Angeles. Okay. Thanks again. Stanley says, Jim, when changing a distributor, can you mess up the timing if the distributor can only go in one way? Depending on the year of the car, I don't want to tell you absolutely that it'll be exactly on the money, depending on what year it is, Stanley, because back years ago, when you pull the distributor out of a car, and I've had this happen before, where somebody pulled the distributor out, put a distributor back in, and the car was. When you take a distributor out, like I said, I'm not positive which one it is, but back on the older cars, when you pull the distributor out, as you pull the distributor out, it would actually rotate as it came out. You had to rotate as it came out, and you had to put a mark exactly where it was going to go to put it back in there. Not only did the distributor rotor have to point exactly to the right location, the distributor itself had to be exactly in the right location too, because if you turn the distributor, you would throw off the timing. So Stanley, if you let me know what year it is, I can let you know if that would throw it off at all. I will tell you this, that the newer cars, when you put a distributor in, either is right on the money, or it was 180 degrees out. There was no in between where it could be off one tooth or whatever. So let me know what year it is, and I can tell you a little bit further. Let's see, Empire State trailer. Was that the Empire State Building in your earlier video? Actually, it was the World Trade Center. When you looked up through the glass there, that was actually the World Trade Center. It was me. I was siphoning gas out of Jim's tank. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but what a great shirt. Thank you very much, Joel. I appreciate it. I do love my Hawaiian shirts, especially this time of the year. It's really good. Now, I'm going to tell you this now. Good thing I'm not walking my dogs now, because it's pouring like mad out there right now. I think my dogs are sleeping and they don't want to go anyplace. All right. McGee63 says, so Jim made 25 cents on the dollar. That stinks. Yeah, back then that's the way it was. Even today. Today, I'm going to tell you this. Between every time you turn around, there's a new fee. You have to pay now to get rid of your oil. You have to pay to get rid of your antifreeze. You have to have all of these insurances. You have to have every time you turn around, the insurance is being jacked up. It's just that all the money that you're making is going right back out the door, and even right down to the price of heating your building. You have the heat on, and you're paying a couple of $100 a month just for the heat, water. All of the unseen things that you really don't think about. But yeah, it's probably 25 cents on the dollar, if not less. Oh, if the gas were cheaper, he would either throw rocks through their window, use a claw hammer, or drill out the screen on a pump. Let's see what we got here. Sorry, I just touched it, and all of a sudden it just scrolled all the way ahead again. Traveler asks, what kind of advertising do you do? I used to do a lot of advertising, but truthfully, I don't do any advertising anymore. Advertising is very important, but my shop is so busy. I stopped advertising because one day I'm sitting down and I did this whole campaign for flyers and different specials and everything. And everybody who came in to get their car worked on, I was so busy, I was putting them off for a week down the road. So I kind of defeated the purpose of even doing the advertising. So for me, most of my advertising is basically just word of mouth. I don't do any advertising any longer. Let's see. The best business, this is a Joel says, the best business I have ever had. When I was 16, I started window washing service, tools and equipment. And yep, you're right. That's all profit, something like that. The best window cleaner. Oh, okay. MG63 says, don't mind me. I am sitting here watching Jim while I drink a beer. After this show, don't be surprised one day if you hear a knocking on your door and I come over to have a beer with you. All right. Joe said, did Exxon did Exxon teach you how to sell gas at $4 a gallon? With a smile. Actually, I'm going to tell you that. And Joe, you know this because you saw all the stuff that I went through. The problem I have when I had the gas station, and with the gas station is, you would raise the price of gas, 1, 2, 3% pennies. You would raise it, and everybody would kind of freak out. It's like, you're a penny or two higher than you were the week before, and to the average person, a penny or two, you're looking at maybe back then it was 20 cents. It would cost you 20 cents difference. But for me, buying a product, you can do the math. You buy a truck of 9,000 gallons and it goes up 2 cents. It's not just 20 cents. To me, it was actually quite a bit. But I will tell you this: Exxon really, they didn't really care what you did. All they wanted to know is they wanted you to get that. They wanted X amount of gallons pumped out per month. They didn't care how you got to it. They just wanted you to do it. And MG63 says, what about flat rate pay, Jim? I tried doing that with my mechanics. The problem is with the flat rate is good. But the problem with flat rate is that you have to have a good quantity of cars coming in the door. And I'm not talking about just oil changes or flat tires or anything like that. You have to make sure you have a good quality jobs coming through the door. So flat rate is pretty decent, but most guys will not work for flat rate. And if you're going to get somebody to do flat rate, you're going to have a little bit of an issue. One week you're busy as can be, and the next week it's actually not as busy. And the up and down in the cycle. A lot of people didn't like it. So what I used to do was it was X amount of dollars per hour, and used to work a 40-hour week. And they knew every week they were gonna make X amount of dollars. And if it was a good week, they made 40 hours and they got whatever they got. And if it was a slow week, they still got it. My guys never did I send them home when it was a slow week. They always made, good money. The whole, busy and slow, they always made their money, and they knew they could count on me for a paycheck that actually, was cashable and actually didn't bounce. what I did do is, I'll tell you a story about this one time. I had a guy working for me, right? And he used to work at a dealership, and the dealership, he didn't want to work there anymore because it was flat rate and he wasn't getting all the gravy jobs. Somebody else was getting the gravy jobs. He was getting the ones that you actually break your coconuts on and you don't make a lot of money. Well, he worked for me for a while. He's a good guy, and I'm going to tell you how come he wasn't with me anymore. You'll get a kick out of this one. But he was really good. And I had a car come in one day, and it was a simple job. It was a rack and pinion. But back in those days, to do a rack and pinion, it's not like today. Some of the cars today, you don't have to drop the subframe down or the motor or trans drop it down. You can usually get it out through the side, maybe pull it down a little bit to get it out of there. But back then, I remember it was a GM product. I don't remember what kind. But the car comes in, and I price the job out to the customer, and he says to me, he says, I can get that done in an hour. I said, there's no way you can possibly get that done in an hour. I said, when you look at a book time, it gives you something like 3.5 to do it. I said, you can't do it in an hour. He said, yeah, he says, I can do it in an hour. I says, well, how much you want to bet? He says to me, $20. I said, all right. I said, I bet you $20 you can't do it in an hour. So he gets all his tools all set up and everything. He puts everything out on the cart. I said, all right, start on it. He gets started on it. And he goes through the thing and he shoots everything off. He gets the whole thing out, pulls the old one out, puts the new one in, catches everything, fills it up with fluid, wheels on. He backs the car out the door. He says to me, hey, he says, you lose. He says, I did this in less than an hour. He said, you lose. He says, where's my $20? So I gave him the $20. And he says to me, yeah, he says, you lost. I said, no, you think I lost? I didn't lose. He says to me, how do you figure that? He says, I did it in less than an hour. I said, because you did it in less than an hour, but book time was over 3 hours. So I still collected the 3 hours to do the job and paid him the extra $20 and knocked it out in 1 hour. So, but that was a long time ago. And why he's not with me anymore. Well, this guy was with me. This was a long time ago, I might add, too. And to this day, 20 some odd years later, I'm still friends with him, actually more like 22, 23 years. But still friends with him today. But anyhow, when Monday morning rolls around, I get a phone call. Calls me up on the phone. He says to me, Jim, he says, I'm going to be a little late. I said, well, no big deal. I said, what's going on? He said, well, he says, I have a little bit of a problem. I said, well, how late are you going to be? I said, you're going to be in today or, later on this afternoon? What's going on? Give me an idea. He says to me, he says, I should be there in probably about 6 months. I said, 6 months? I said, what are you talking about 6 months? I said, I can't keep a job open for you for 6 months. I said, why can't you be here for 6 months? He said, because I had a motorcycle accident and I broke my leg. Not funny, but at the time, that's why he's no longer with me. All right, let's see what we're back to here. Lon says, I was in the house. They used a zip cord. Okay. Okay. Lon says, I was in a house. They used zip cord plaster in the walls for outlets. You'd be amazed some of the stuff. I mean, one job I remember doing years ago in a house, and there was no ground. And as it turns out, there was no ground because they had your power line coming in and your neutral going back out. And for some reason, they didn't connect up the clip on the box to ground it. So you never know what you're going to find. Thank you, Wyatt. I appreciate it. Wyatt says, all good advice, Jim. Yeah, being in business for yourself is not the best thing. Not all the time. Yep, August 2nd. That's when it's going to be, Wyatt. I told you, well, I think I did tell you, I was hoping to be up there the 1st, but that just wasn't going to work out for me because I did have something else going on that day. But definitely on the 2nd, I'm going to be there for sure. Be good to see everybody again. Hayward, nice to see you there. Hey, everybody, better late than never. You're always welcome here, Hayward. You know that. Please show your dogs like Eric. Oh, they will be stars. I will. One day I will. They're in the back right now, probably sound asleep. I got 2 dogs. One is a border collie and the other's a lab. So I will show them. That's right. Eric always did that with his dogs too, right down by the lake. I remember he was down by the lake running around with the dogs one time down there. So you know what? I think I'm gonna do that too. When I'm down by the lake, I'm gonna show you pictures of me with the dogs down by the lake. All right, okay, let's see what we got going on. Hayward's in the house. That's right, Wyatt. Hayward's in the house. Wyatt, nice. Yes, true, Wyatt. That was a really nice Jeep you got, Eric. I was clean. You don't find them clean like that. A lot of miles, but immaculate underneath. I'm sure Eric was very happy to see the bottom of that thing because up where he is, I'm sure that we know up where he is, everything is solid rust because we're in that in the rust belt. So I'm sure he was probably very happy. Sorry about that. He was probably very happy that. Sorry, that you're probably very happy that it wasn't all rusted up like that. So it's a clean truck, and I'm sure he's going to get a lot of use out of it. And Wyatt did a great job. Okay. Super Jones 70 asks, has YouTube helped your business? Truthfully, yeah, it did. Not a lot, because a lot of the stuff on YouTube, as you know, it's not always locally in this part of the area right here. But yes, it has helped. It has. I've gotten a lot of business from people who actually see my my YouTube channel, and they'll come in and get their car worked on. I'm going to tell you one time, a couple of times, but I'm going to tell you this one time in particular. Now, I opened up my shop at 7:30 in the morning, and I religiously, you could set your watch because at 7:30 my doors go up, the lights go on, I go across the street and get a coffee, come back, and I'm ready to go. Well, there's one day. And I've been in the same place now, in the same building for 22 years. So I know everybody around the area. I know all my customers really well. But what happened is this one day I go and I open up my front door and push this. No, I have steel roll down doors, the regular garage doors, but the steel roll downs for security on the outside. I push the one door up and I push it up. I go around to my side entrance and I open up that door and I'm going to push it up. I walk up there and I look and there's a guy sitting in a truck up there, and I'm thinking it was a Nissan, if I'm not mistaken, a Murano, actually, it was. And I walk out there, and I go to push the thing up, and he says to me, hey, Jim. I said, hey, how you doing? He says to me, and he starts talking about his truck, and this, that, and the other thing, and I says to him, whoa. I said, how'd you find out about me? I said, where are you from? I said, I see you got New York license plates on there. And it was actually one of my YouTube subscribers who actually had trouble with his brakes. And he was from someplace, I'm thinking out in Brooklyn or something like that. And he actually drove into Bayonne to have me do brakes on his car. That's just one instance, but there's been quite a few others. I'm working one time, and I'm working inside the shop. The doors are open because it was fairly warm out. And I'm working in there, and the guy comes walking in, and he says to me, Jim the car guy. And it was one of my other subscribers as well. I says to him, how did you find where I was located? He said, because when I looked, I had one of the videos I did, it showed out the window of my shop, actually showed out the door. And from what he saw out the door, he realized where my shop was. And he was up from Jersey City, and he drove down to get me to work on his car. So to answer your question, yes, I've gotten quite a few customers from YouTube, quite a few customers. And I'll tell you the truth, I've met a lot of really, really nice people. I had one guy come in, he actually drove in from, again, it was New York license plates, I'm not positive. I'm thinking it was maybe up by the George Washington Bridge or something like that. And I remember it was a Honda. I think it was a Honda CRV, actually. And he came in to get work on his truck because he had taken it to a guy up there. They did front brakes, and it vibrated. They did back brakes, and it vibrated. They did all four tires, and it was still vibrating. And the vibration was so bad that when you drove the vehicle, the steering wheel, you drove the vehicle, you couldn't feel the vibration in the wheel, but you felt the whole truck start to tremble like crazy. And the faster you went, the more violently the vehicle shook. And when I lifted it up and looked, the previous mechanic told him it had to be something in the transmission. The transmission was no good. Something must have broken in the transmission and it had to be replaced and all that kind of stuff. As it turned out, it wasn't any of that. What it was is on the Honda CRVs, they have a drive shaft like any other car. But this drive shaft goes from the transfer case back to the differential, and there's a hanger bearing in the middle of it. And what happened is the universal joint wound up rotting away. And with any kind of a universal joint, it has to be exactly dead center, so that when it rotates, on like a circle, exactly dead center. What happened is he had a bad joint in there, which threw it off just a little bit, and that's what was giving him the vibration. So, but that was somebody else from actually, I think it was up by the George Washington Bridge up that way someplace. So I've gotten probably, I'm going to say at least 40 to 50 jobs out of the YouTube that have come to my shop, and a lot of them I do have to turn them away. I most of the time I will talk to people and tell them it's just something I can't do, because if it's just talking to them on the phone, I don't want to have them drive for 2 hours, 3 hours to drive to my shop where I can't get it done that day, and they need the vehicle to get back home. So on the real big time consuming jobs, I usually pass those jobs up, but anything else, I will take care of. All right. This is Scott Jordan says, "Hi Jim, having a tough time replacing my wife's serpentine belt on a 2013 Honda Pilot. I have the serpentine tool, but trying to get it routed around and I kind of, oh, I see. Okay. I see. It's a second. It probably ran out of words you could put in there. Get it routed around the pulley is tough due to very tight space in the engine bay. Thinking about routing it from underneath the car by taking off the wheel inside. Thoughts? Yes, absolutely. If you just jack up the vehicle and you can just turn the wheel, you don't have to take the wheel off or anything. Just turn the wheel to the outside and take that plastic cover off on the bottom. You'll be able to get to the lower crankshaft and probably one of the pulleys right behind there as well. So you will need to actually hold it up from the bottom while you're working from the top. It's probably going to be a two-person type job. I will tell you this, there is a special tool that you can buy. It's really cheap. It's not that much. You can probably get it at one of the big box stores. And basically what it is, it's a very long, thin tool. And on the end of that tool, it has like an H on the end of that tool. So you can actually take the belt. It's got like an H on it with a little hook on the top. So you can take the belt and move the belt as needed to get in and out there. I don't use that tool. What I use at the shop is I just use a very long, thin screwdriver because that works a lot better for me using that. But that other tool works really well also to be able to get down there and move the belt around. What I would do is I would get the belt on the bottom. Now, I don't know exactly where your tensioner is, if it's up on top or if it's down underneath the bottom, but you want to get everything in there. And as you're putting it in, just keep tension up on the belt. If you're pulling up on the belt and you can wrap it around all of the other, accessory items and such as that, the water pump, idler pulleys, whatever, and the last thing you're going to put it on, it's going to be the tensioner. So, but yes, to answer your question, if you take off that side cover, it'll open it up for you where you'll actually have plenty of room to get in there to get to it. And Wyatt says we were able to get it pretty cheap too because it needed some mechanical work. Well, that's good, Wyatt. I'm sure that all that stuff, Eric can do that in his spare time, if he has any spare time. That is, I don't know how that guy does it. Run a business, taking care of his family, and still finding time to work on his own vehicles too. That's a lot. I've done it a lot of years, and I know it's pretty overwhelming sometimes. And that's before YouTube. I didn't do YouTube back in the day, and it's a lot that he's working on. Chris says he won't know what to do with it. No rust on it. That's true. That's true. I saw the video that I don't know why I put it up or Eric put it up. I'm thinking Eric did. I saw there was, you know what, it was still up on your truck, Wyatt, and he looked up from the bottom of it, and you could see underneath how clean everything was, including the pinch welds. When you looked at the pinch welds, they weren't collapsed or bent or anything like that. So it was a very, very clean vehicle, considering the mileage on it too. Oh, sorry, I just touched it and it scrolled ahead. Okay. My buddy McGee63 says, Jim, when you gonna meet for a beer? I definitely will. I definitely will. Right now, I just got a bunch of stuff going on, but one day I will be up in Jersey City, and we're gonna go out and have that beer. And you know what? I'm gonna let you buy it for me. MG63, Jim, dogs are shy and not into celebrity status. Yeah, actually, they're probably sleeping. Actually, tell you the truth, before my border collie did come walking in, walked over here, looked right at me, and went walking right back again to go back to sleep. I guess you probably heard me talking and probably figuring I'm losing my marbles, standing here talking to myself. Okay. I got a fourth rambler this week. My wife says I need to seek professional help. Oof, Joel, a rambler. 4 of them. Oh my gosh. They are nice looking cars, though. I mean, back in the day, they were really dependable. But 4 of them, wow, you got your hands full doing those. Okay, I think we're gonna go to a couple of questions I had over here because these were interesting. These were interesting questions. Let me just scroll ahead and see if there's anything pressing that we need to talk about. Okay. Okay, okay, nothing really. Okay. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Wyatt, and I know too, is that, Eric would give you the shirt right off his back. He's a really good guy, but he's got the shop he's got to run. He's got a business to take care of. He's got the kids to take care of. He's got all the summer activities to take care of. He's got all this YouTube stuff to take care of, and yet he still finds time to work on his Jeep and all that kind of stuff. That's really good. I mean, sometimes myself, it's so busy I don't even have time to change my own oil, to do my own brakes, and so I give him a lot of credit for doing everything he can do and running a very successful YouTube channel. Okay, this is a couple of questions that I got. Like I said, I'm sorry I'm not looking over here. I'm looking over there because I actually have it on my computer here now. And these are some of the questions that was presented to me. And this is from one of my subscribers. His name is Jim. I won't tell you his last name, but his name is Jim. He says, what was the jack points? And that was on a 2011 CRV that I was doing brakes on. Jack points are very easy. When you look underneath on a Honda, you don't even have to look. You can just put your hand underneath a Honda and run it along the pinch weld, and you're going to feel the pinch weld where it's a normal thin pinch weld, and then you're going to come to a point where that pinch weld is thicker and it protrudes down. It'll come along nice and straight, and it drops down, comes across, and comes back up. It's probably 2-3 inches long, and that's the reinforced point that you're going to lift the vehicle up from. You have one in the front. You have one in the. You have it on the front. You'll have it in the back of the wheel, and in the rear, you'll have it in the front of the wheel. So that's the reinforced areas on a Honda. You'll have some cars now, it'll be a little bit different. You'll have that reinforced area, but instead of being where it comes along and you have that little drop down where you have that 3-inch piece, it'll be just the opposite. It'll come along and it'll go up and then run along and come back down. So you'll have a little 3-inch area that's actually recessed, and that's where it's reinforced. But usually you're going to run your hand along there, and you can find out for sure where to jack it up. All right, here's another question we have. This one is from MKRP4. I don't use a pry bar to push the piston back in. Instead, and I'm thinking it's the same thing as the 2011, I don't use the CRV that I actually just recently put a video up on doing the brakes on. I don't use a pry bar to push the piston back in. Instead, I use a C-clamp on the piston. Also, I use a heavy hammer on the impact anvil, 3.5 pounds, short sledge, breaks the screws loose in 1 or 2 hits. Yep, that'll definitely do it. It'll break it loose. But truthfully, I don't like using a C-clamp. And the reason I stopped using C-clamps is back 15, 20 years ago, the car companies actually came up with this new type of piston on a caliper. Instead of having the metal piston, they made them out of plastic. That's why I stopped using the C clamp to do anything, because when you have the plastic caliper and you're trying to push it back in, you know that sometimes they can be pretty tight. You get on there with a C clamp and tighten it up, and sure enough, you're going to break that piston. And believe me, it's happened. My guys already have done that. When they were doing a brake job, they pushed the piston back in with a C clamp and they blew a hole right through the piston, and you wind up having to change the caliper. So definitely that's why I don't use the pry bar. I mean, I use a pry bar. I don't use the C clamp for that particular reason. But that's why I do it. I mean, it's personal preference, but that's why I don't use the C clamp. I probably got rid of that C clamps 20, 25 years ago, and I haven't used them since. Okay. There's another one of my subscribers is why? Oh, why not? Okay. I guess that's his YouTube, whatever. It says, why not? And he says, do I have to change both front brake pads if only one side is worn out? I'm assuming that what he's saying is that, does he have to change the left side if the right side is worn out? I don't think he's asking if one brake pad is worn out, do I have to change them both? I'm pretty sure he's saying if one side wears out, do I have to change the other side too? Me, I would never recommend it to anybody to do a brake job and only do one side without doing the other. Brakes, as you know, they come in sets. You buy in a set for the front and you buy a set for the back. You can't buy a set for the left front and a set for the right front. They come as one set of brakes, left and right. So would I do that? I would never do it. I would never recommend it to anybody. Even if one side is brand new and the other side is not brand new, I would change them both. But what I will tell you this is that you want to definitely, I would, if one side is like brand new or even in good condition and the other side is dead, you want to check that car out thoroughly. I have no idea what kind of a car it is or truck or whatever, but if one side wore down and the other side did not wear down, you may want to check that piston to make sure that the piston is not frozen, make sure the slide pins are not frozen, and also check to make sure that the brake line is not frozen or collapsing internally too. So to answer your question, no, I would definitely not do just one side. You do both sides at the same time, and you should have no problem. But definitely check it out to see why one side wore down and the other side didn't. Something's got to be going on in there more than just the brake pads being changed. Let's see what we got here. On the 99 Corolla, the AC started to put out a light mist, a fog. Is there a problem, or is it just pumping it really cold? That's a good question, Joe. If it's on a day when it's very, very humid outside and your air conditioner is working efficiently and really good, sometimes you can actually get a little bit of like mist coming out of the air conditioning vents themselves. It's just like when you go in your refrigerator, you open up a refrigerator, you open up a freezer, and you have that burst of cold air coming out. You'll get that little smoke to come out with it. It's the same thing. So it's nothing to worry about. It's absolutely perfect. But I did have people already come into my shop and question me about that too, as they see smoke coming out of the dashboard. Could anything be wrong? And it's nothing to worry about. The only time you have to worry about it is if the air conditioner is not working and you smell like a strange odor coming out. Then you could have something else going on. But that's it. Can't find it. Okay. And now he has dance classes. Oh boy. Okay. Why I had no real problem for posture in class. That's good. Vinny, how you doing? Good to see you, Vinny. All right, this is another question we got here. Um, this comes from one of my subscribers, and it's his name is Big Bob 22. Should I plug my tire or should I take it to a shop for a patch? One thing I will tell you is that a lot of shops, they do plug tires. Would I plug a tire? Definitely not. The problem with plugging a tire is that if you get a car in there and it has a tiny little 1/16th hole in that, if you have a tiny little 1/16th hole in the tire, you have to go in there with a tool to ream that hole out to make that hole bigger so it could accommodate the plug. So I would never put a plug in the tire. If you have a nail in there or whatever, definitely get it patched from the inside because a plug is a temporary fix. A patch is a permanent repair. So, you definitely want to, get it patched. And I've had this discussion with places too, and they say to me, well, a plug is a permanent repair. And really it's not, because every time I get somebody coming into my shop and they say to me, oh, I got a slow leak in this tire, and I'll take the tire and I'll run it through the water tank. Sure enough, where's it leaking from? Out of a plug that somebody else had put in there. So the thing you have to remember is that tires have steel belts in it. And steel belts, if anybody knows what the steel belts are, you touch them and they're very, very sharp. They will cut you when they break. They're very pointy, because I've had cars already where the wire is showing through and you touch it by accident, it'll puncture your skin. But what happens is when you have to make that hole bigger, you'll go in there with that tool and you'll remount that hole. So you'll have maybe one belt, two of the steel belts broken. When you go in there and you remount that hole, you're breaking a large amount of those cords in there, or the steel belts in there. The problem is now you're going to take a plug and you're going to stick a plug in there. Well, what happens if you have a rubber plug? We're going to say this is your rubber plug. It goes into the tire, and your tire, where you just actually reamed it out, has wire here and it has wire here. And you're going to go over a bump. And every time you drive, that tire is going to do this. It's going to flex. Every time it flexes, that wire that's sticking out inside there is slowly but surely going to eat away at that plug. And sure enough, it's going to start to leak. It may not be this month, it may not be next month, but rest assured that that tire is absolutely going to wind up leaking. And I will tell you this too. If you look in your owner's manual, any of the owner's manual, you look inside there, and if you have a puncture in a tire, they recommend taking that tire off the vehicle and opening it up inside to make sure that there's no further damage inside there before you put a patch on it. So the manufacturer recommends that as well. All right, I think we're going to run out of time here. I still got a whole bunch more that I wanted to talk about. All right, let's see what this one is. Okay, one more here. This is, no idea, Pee-wee 999. And he asks, I have a 2002 Ford Explorer. When I turn the key to start, most of the time it turns over, but sometimes it just clicks. What do you think I should check? What's a 2002 Explorer? There's a lot of different things that can actually cause that to happen. What I will tell you this is, if you get in the vehicle and you turn the key and try to start it and it don't start, you want to have somebody either look at your headlights or turn your interior lights on and try to start it to see what happens. If your interior lights go out or your headlights go out when you're trying to start it, then you have a bad connection someplace, whether it's on the negative or the positive, or possibly a bad ground strap or anything like that. So if your lights go out, check all your electrical connections to make sure they're okay. If your lights do not go out, then you'll need to go down by the starter and test down by the starter your main power lead, which is your single thicker one. It's probably about like a 3/8, maybe not 3/8, maybe 5/16, and then you'll have another tiny little skinny one. It's maybe about a 1/16 of an inch. The one that's a 1/16 of an inch, it's going to say S on the side of it, and that's the start wire. So you'll need to get down there with a test light and check for power on the main lead, which is the thicker lead. You'll have power there all the time. When you try to start the truck, you'll turn the key and the S wire or the start wire or the smaller wire, touch it with your test light. If they try to turn the key inside the up and you just hear a clicking noise, then you'll need to go underneath there, tap on the starter, and sometimes you can get it to start like that. And if that's the case, then that starter is going to be no good. If you have power to the starter and you have power to the start side of the wire on there, then you know that the starter itself is no good. And the last thing you're going to do is you're going to check for a ground on the starter, because I've seen them already where the ground wire rots off on the body of the truck or on the engine itself, and it causes a ground problem. So make sure you have a good ground on the engine at the same time. All right, I hope that helps you out, Pee-wee 999. All right, I think the rest of them, I think we're going to have to pass these up. Yeah, we'll run out of time here, so we're not going to be able to do that. All right, let me just go back here a little bit and see what we got going on. Okay. Here it says, okay. Why it says I'm working this week and have an early wake up. Good night. Okay, Wyatt, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by and talking to everybody. I appreciate it, and I'll see you on the 2nd. Okay, if you smell a strange odor in the car, it may be that I was in the car after drinking 15 beers. That's true. That's true. We won't even talk about that because, MG63, we're going to talk about this one. You remind me about drinking beers, 15 beers in a car, and I'm going to tell you a story about that. I don't think I can really talk about this on the air. Let's see, we got here. Vincent says, Vinny says, is the AC high pressure switch cuts, is a AC high pressure cutout switch a common problem? It depends on the car. It's really not that common. Usually that the cutout switch will actually go bad, will not go bad, but the switch will do its job if the high side pressure goes too high. I've seen them already where they put them in the shop, checking them out, and they're like 300, 400 pounds on the high side, and at that point, that high pressure switch will kick it out. But I will tell you this: back back years ago, it was a very common problem with the Ford Explorers. They had a problem with that high pressure cutout switch where they used to fail all the time. So it's not really a common problem, Vinny, but it does happen. And Vinny, I'm going to give you a call. If it's just let me know if it's okay. I'm going to give you a call tomorrow, Vinny, so we can talk a little bit. I haven't talked to you in a while. I'll give you a call if that's okay with you. Just let me know. And Nat says, better late than never. Damn, I was thinking it was Saturday. It's always good to see you here, even if you're late. And everybody here, Nat was asking, "Where's Nat? We haven't seen Nat here yet." Not really. I'm just screwing with you. Good to see you here, though. Mike Funk says, "Do you do many control arm replacements?" We do quite a few of them. Yes, we do. Just think of the last one I did. Last one I think I did was, I don't even think I did a video on this one. It was a Hyundai. There was a problem where Hyundai had the lower control arms used to rot out a lot, where the moisture would get inside the control arm. It would come down to where the ball joint area is, and it would actually snap off on the end. So that was the last one I did. I think I just did that a couple of months ago. So that we do a lot of control arms. All right, I think we're going to call it night, everybody. But I do want to do one more thing. I have a car question for you. And I think maybe I'll only do one car question today because it is a little bit late already. Plus, I'm running out of questions. All right, we talked about the what is the spirit of ecstasy? We did that last week. Okay, this one here. This is the question. What was the inspiration for MG's famed octagon-shaped badge? Now, anybody who knows the MG, you know that the MG is actually it's octagon-shaped. It says M and G, and it's in an octagon shape. So, what was the inspiration for GM's famed octagon-shaped badge? What gave them the idea to have the octagon-shaped badge? Anybody have any ideas? Star Lon says Star of David. Reese F. Yes, the weather is fine. Okay, this is the question again. What was the inspiration for GM's famed octagon-shaped badge? What gave him the idea for the octagon-shaped badge? That's a hard one. I don't think anybody's going to get it. Joe says an 8-cylinder engine. Nope, that's wrong. Okay. What was the inspiration for GM's famed octagon-shaped badge? The octagon-shaped badge was, it circled the MG. Okay, the shape of the founders, Cecil Kimber's dining table. GM stands for Morris Garage. Wow, I didn't know that. That's what GM stands for. Chris says stop sign. You're right. It looks like a stop sign. You're right. It does. But actually, the shape of the founder's dining room table. I guess the shape of the table is what gave him the idea. But that's what I should ask. I should have asked you, what does MG stand for? Now, everybody? I was very surprised to see that too. MG stands for Morris Garages. Oh, so that's what MG stands for. Yep. Okay. All right. I think we're going to call it night. So I hope I answered a couple of questions for everybody. Looks like a couple of people are already hopping out already, but I'm happy that everybody stopped by tonight. Anybody who has any ideas of what they want to have next week's show about, just let me know. Just think next week, I could probably do next week. I know during the week I'm going to be a little bit busy, but I should be able to do next week. So next Sunday, 7:00, right here. So anybody has any ideas of what they want to have the show talk about or cover, just send me an email, and we can talk about next week on the air here, and that's it. I'm sorry I had a couple of more questions here I didn't have a chance to get to, but we will have a chance next week. So I just want to tell everybody, thank you for stopping by, and thank you for spending part of your Sunday evening here with me. And that's it. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.